Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning and welcome.
And welcome our very special guest today, Sandy Munro with Munro Live and Munro Associates. We're streaming on a number of different platforms today. And if those of you on TikTok have joined us on YouTube, you can see the full experience, see the image behind us. By the way, the image behind us, is it visible?
I'm updating that now.
He's updating right now. What we did, Sandy, was we usually have an image, a picture that I've taken over the last 50 years as a photographer. Amateur, but pretty good stuff, actually. And the one today that's going to be popped up is from Tuscany, and it's on the Mediterranean. And since it's cold here in Phoenix this morning, I thought this would be a nice image to project. So it should be up here shortly.
It's up right now.
Oh, it is. You can see it. Okay. Excellent. Well, I guess we can get right into our podcast this morning then.
I think so.
Sandy, we wanted to see if you wanted to give us a brief background, your company and some of the history, and we could start there if that's okay with you.
Sure. I started off as a tool maker. Went back to school, became an engineer. I worked in the machine tool industry. I worked on automation, machines, robots, all kinds of stuff like that. And then I became the chief engineer of a really big, valiant machine tool. It used to be the biggest privately held machine tool company in North America. And I got this wonderful offer from Ford, which basically doubled my salary and got me into Ford Motor Company. So I spent 10 years. I went from a manufacturing engineer to a product design engineer to basically designing cars and whatnot, or helping with designing cars. And then they moved me to finance staff. And that was quite a shock. Anyways, I was the only engineer in finance staff as far as I know. And I spent a couple, 3 years there. And then Dr. Demings, Edward Demings, sent me, told me to go and find another job. And I did, and I started Munro Associates. And since then, we've literally worked on everything from Barbie to the space station. We do an awful lot of vehicles. We do all electric now. We don't really do too much in the area of ICE vehicles anymore. We've been basically all over the planet lately anyway, looking at who's doing what, how much, how far they are down the line, how much better one product is than another. We do in here, we'll take the vehicles completely to pieces. Then we'll break them all down right down to nuts and bolts. And then we do the costing. We do chemical and material analysis. And at the end of the day, we know more about the products than most of the engineers that work on the cars. So we definitely know what's going on when it comes to that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Fascinating. There are some similarities between our companies. You're known as the tear down titans, of course, and you catalog things, and you go granular on the products that you take apart. We do the same thing. But we're looking for problem resolution. When things come to us, they're broken, and in the independent space out here, working on EVs, mostly Teslas at this point. Our challenge is to not only take things apart to your level, also do reverse engineering, create schematics, test points, wiring diagrams in order to isolate the cause of the problem. And then we have to repair it. And, so that requires similar things, creating a bill of materials for the boards, for example. What are the chips, And
yeah, we go down to that level as well. But actually, the one thing that we're going to be doing here shortly is we've working with a partner, and we figured out how to cost software. Software is a kind of a really black magic kind of a thing. And these guys do quite a bit of software analysis, and they've been writing software for things forever. And so that's going to be our new addition to the reports that we generate. So the costing for the circuit boards and things like that, people are very interested in it. But really what they'd like to know is what's in back of the hardware. And with the software calculations, we'll be able to give you what the cost is, and then also what was the non-recurring engineering costs associated with it.
Mhm.
These are, you got to keep fresh, and there's always wolves at the door. So this has been our little challenge to see what we can do to make things happen that would be positive for our mostly our customers are OEMs and tier ones, some tier twos, and some financial groups. But at the end of the day, they're all interested in one thing: money.
Mhm.
How much did that cost? So that's kind of like what our forte is.
Sure. That sounds like a challenging endeavor, is to dive into behind the curtain, basically, is what was the software evolution like. And of course, it's difficult to factor in research and development costs, trial and error, how the software evolved. We have, for example, right now, a HVAC controller that was made by Ebersbach in Europe 15 years ago. And like most Tesla Roadster parts, these things are obsolete. They will never be made again because there are too few customers. And we ended up finding a tiny, almost microscopic chip that had failed, but it killed a PIC processor upstream. And although we were able to source both the PIC processor and the tiny chip, there's firmware on that PIC processor, and of course no one has that. So there's a challenge for us now, is to try to figure out how, if we can decompile a working version and work the software angle. So we're doing similar things, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, in most cases, people take our reports and then try and figure out how they're going to develop their next generation product. And in some cases, we don't just do the report generation. We also work on new product development. Right now, we've got refrigerators, charging stations, batteries that are brand spanking new and whatnot. How do we put them into new casing and things like that? And even chip design, or not chip design, but board design. The design aspect, or the real money at Monroe, is actually new product development. And when you get into a situation like you're talking about, where, you've got to try and work backwards to find out what the firmware might look like so you can replace the chip and still make it work. We definitely don't do that. That would be almost exclusively in your domain. I don't think we got the right people to do that kind of stuff.
And without doing that, of course, the cars end up dying, because no one's going to recreate parts for such a small population of owners.
Right.
We estimate that there are about 2,000 Roadster owners left. And it's very difficult to cost justify any kind of recreation of electronics or even rewriting firmware.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like we've got some questions coming in, Sandy. If we could entertain just a few of those. From Roger Starkey, he says, this should be interesting. Well, we think it is so far.
Definitely so. From XQ, we have, he says, it's nice, tight.
Okay. And then Joey's cleaning lady, who has visited us once before, by the way, she says Sandy should do a tear down on the original Roadster. What do you think
I
of
can't
that?
afford one. You fix those things, and now they're worth a fortune. I can't. We'd more luckily, we'd have more luck trying to get a semi than a Roadster.
Yeah. Well, the market's a bit depressed right now, so if the 100,000 range is acceptable to you, that's where they're at right now, unless it's pedigreed or celebrity owned.
Let me check. I must have left that check in my other pocket. Yeah.
So we've got a question for you, Sandy. We saw you guys tearing down that 4680 pack, and the one with the pink, the potting material in it.
Right, yeah.
And of course, the impression that everyone got from that was it's not serviceable. In our world, we have to find a way to service things like that in order to remain in business. So we did that type of thing with a number of roadster parts. The DC to DC converter, for example, is a nightmare once you open it up because it's about 40% potting material. And they put a bunch of components underneath the potting material. You've got MOSFETs, transformers, diodes, things that fail. So we're curious. Do you see any way possible that this thing could be repaired?
Probably the battery pack won't need to be repaired. We have a thing about when we design products, do you want to make it serviceable or repairable? In a lot of cases, if I make it serviceable, it's going to fail. But if I make it so that it's reliable, then it won't fail. So, for instance, I know that in a lot of cases, the connectors to the individual cells were falling apart on the original Roadster and the original S. But with this technique that they've got, by putting the potting over everything, just sealing it up completely, my guess is that the things that are going to fail are probably going to be the battery control module, which is accessible, and maybe some of the connectors that go to or from the battery. But if they've tested it, I think it's going to be pretty robust. I don't think it's going to be, and if you want to take that pink stuff off, you have to use dry ice and an air compressor, and that's how you get it off. That's the big secret. That's how we got rid of all that stuff. We used that, and if you needed to find out, how cells had been disconnected and whatnot, you're probably going to disconnect more cells, but that'll do the trick. Do it outside. Don't even think about your neighbors are all going to hate you because they're going to be pink dust everywhere. But that's how you get it off. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you for the tip. One of our repair methods with these multi-cell battery packs is a failure mode that's not uncommon as they age. Is you get one cell out of the pack that goes resistive. Well, now you have to throw the whole pack away unless you can repair it.
Yeah.
And the trick now becomes to isolate that one cell. Which one is it? And what we found is the cars typically don't notice 1 out of 7,000 cells going MIA.
Right.
And that's been our success with the Roadster, with the Model S, with the Model X at this point. So we're anticipating something similar happening with this battery pack. We had thought about the possibility of finding a solvent that would dissolve this potting material.
No, I give you a tip there. We did that as well. And once you read the side of the can, you just realize that you've spent, I think it was like $300 or $400, and it's a little teeny can, and it says, this is a carcinogenic and everything.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Don't do
Oh,
that.
wow.
Don't do that. You can't go wrong with the dry ice. So, I mean, okay, you might blow off. It's a lot more robust. The tabs are a lot more robust than the little teeny wires that they used to have on the 2170s. So you probably won't break anything new. You might, but I doubt it. And then you can go and do like a continuity check over and actually you should be able to break it down, right? There's the four major modules, and you probably could sort it down to maybe one module, which one of the modules has got that problem.
Sure.
And then you could dry ice blast that one area, find what you need to find, and don't touch the rest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually the software will isolate it to a particular brick inside that multi-cell battery pack. And once we know the general area, even though it's covered, we've even thought about possibly X-raying it and then isolating that cell. And if it is a bonding wire, then we might be able to do a drill through that potting compound and disconnect, kind of like orthoscopic surgery, basically. Is Tesla giving you any clues as to whether they're doing repairs on this battery pack, or are they really just simply scrapping them if they find one bad cell in a large pack?
Actually, I've talked to them about, you know, what their scrap rates are and stuff like that. And they're very mum about, obviously, they don't want to talk too much about that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I did have the opportunity to go drinking with a few of them. And it sounds like their scrap rate in-house is very low, even at the cell level.
Right.
The battery pack level, not much at all. And then they have that thing with forgot, is it RJ or JR Straubel, the guy that's got Redwood?
Oh, yeah, JB Strobel. Yeah.
JB, sorry. Yeah. Anyway, he's in the battery reclamation world, and I'm actually going to go and see him. But the word that we got back was he can't get enough of can't get enough bad batteries. He's starving to death. Everybody go out there and, you know, somehow brick your car so he can stay in business.
Or send
a
them
lot
all
of a lot of the old stuff, like in the olden days, there was a lot of problems, but not so many problems now. And at least not with Tesla batteries. Now,
Sure.
you may want to expand your scope, because we have seen in tearing apart vehicles and whatnot, we have seen where there's one of these like their modules. Tesla's modules are huge, right? They're the length of the car and about, I don't know, a foot wide or something like that.
Mhm.
But
They are.
when you start looking at the other guys, they've got all these 1 foot by 18-inch modules, or maybe sometimes a little bigger and sometimes a little bit smaller. But these modules, when they go, you have to take the module out and throw it away, and maybe you can put another one in. BMWs can be retuned. They'll balance themselves by taking out the old it's like a circuit card, and you plug it back into the new module, and bingo, it works again. But repairing those things would be probably a little easier, quite a bit easier than trying to replace or repair anything that Tesla's putting out. And I can guarantee you, the other car companies out there, they will have failures, and there's no question about it. So I think you guys are going to be billionaires in no time flat.
So you're saying then that the like the Model S would have 16 modules in its battery pack, and they're all, 16 inches by about close to 2 feet, and the other battery makers are very much like that then.
Yeah, except that they're using like the pouch style batteries, or pouch style mostly. I don't think there's anybody left doing prismatic, but yeah. And when these things go, you've lost, inside it's only one pouch that went, but you lose the whole module. So when that happens, rebalancing them doesn't really happen. And I'm guessing that the Volkswagens and the I don't know, everybody else that's out there, I don't want to start throwing names out, but anyway, the guys that are all using these pouch style batteries, they're going to have problems. And you have the ability to swap them out, or even better, pull them out, take them apart, and figure out what went wrong.
Right.
You'll do just fine, because you lose that whole module. If there's one cell that's bad, you lost the whole module.
Sure. So those of you watching, JB Strobel looks like he needs some more cells. Send him your toothbrushes, your tools. He recycles all of that, by the way.
Everything.
Yes,
he does. Yeah.
I spoke to him last year, and I said, if you ever get any Tesla Roadster modules, we're looking for those. And he promised me that if he sees any, that he would. So maybe he's not seeing them. We have a question for you, Sandy, from Roger Starkey. And he says, can the structural pack penthouse be fully accessed from inside the car?
Yeah, but you pretty much have to take everything out of the car.
Okay, all right.
You have to take the rear seat out, the carpets. There's a couple of harnesses that are in the way. And then you gotta, I'd rather not. I wouldn't do it that way. I drop it out the bottom. That's the way it went in. That's the easiest way to get to it. And of course, the cover is a nightmare to peel off. we haven't really found, I have no idea how you take it off and put it back on. It's sealed. Obviously, they don't, if it goes into the water, they don't want, like if you dive off the end of a pier or something with your car, you really don't want the water intruding into the battery pack or the electronics. It'll blow the fuses and whatnot, but, or the charges for the fuses. But, they really don't want that to happen. So it's kind of like a sealed box.
You know,
treasure
that is one of the most labor-intensive parts of our process is the removal of the top lid on a Model S battery pack. And there are two reasons for that. If you do something like Rich rebuilds, which is start to peel it, drill a couple of 1-inch holes, and then put a tow rope on it and yank it off or pull it up, which he's done, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of,
Then he goes and makes a new top out of cardboard or something.
Yeah, right.
He's a crazy guy. Actually, one of the funnest times I ever had on this show was going to see Rich and driving around on his chirp or whatever they called it, and he had a little rocket ship. I don't know what it was, kind of like a mini, like a go-kart or something like that. So yeah, Rich is a riot. But putting it back together again, he's going to do it slightly different. I'm sure of that. Yeah.
well, what we have to do is body work after we take it off because we have to reuse that lid. And at some point, Tesla said that they will look into selling us the lids, but it hasn't happened yet. By the way, Lucid does it quite a bit different. You'll like this. Do you remember the old valve covers? You had a cork gasket and some 7/16 bolts, and you loosened those up, and that whole cover came off, and you exposed your valves. That's how Lucid does their battery packs. They have a gasket. And you know, it seems to make much more sense than this chipping method that we use for an entire day to try to get the lid off a Model S battery pack.
Well, I'm not a big fan of cork. I'm an engine engineer. When I went to Ford, that's what I was trained to do. I'm not a big fan of cork because it does leak, and it's very, very difficult to get the right clamp load on cork because it changes over time. However, now you're hearing it first on your show. We are taking apart the Lucid right now. And we're not going to do the whole car. All we're going to do is powertrain. So the battery, the electric motor, the inverter, the differential, the gearbox, all that stuff. We're going to analyze that. And of course, anything that has to do with that case that's sitting in the back, that's big on our parade as well. So these are the things that we're working on actually right now today. So I told the guys, maybe we'll just keep that under our hats for a while, but seeing as, you know, you've got a new channel and everything, and I've already stuck my foot in it. We'll just say you got it first, and we're hoping that report will be out quickly. We could not afford that thing on our own, and I didn't know if there'd be that many people interested. But I'll tell you what, when we started tearing into the electric motor and the gear train in general, oh my God, there's some brilliant stuff. Peter Rollins I've known him for a long time. He's I think I can't remember where I met him, but in Britain, I was there for a while working on the Mini for BMW, I should say, and then Aston Martin, Lotus, a bunch of different car companies over there, and I bumped into him 2 or 3 times, and he is wicked smart. But I'll tell you, that electric drive system, it's the only thing that I've seen that can beat Tesla as far as a drive motor is concerned, or traction motor. That is, without a question of a doubt, unbelievable. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's everything you could possibly imagine that shouldn't really work, and it does, and it works brilliantly well. Thing goes like a scalded cat. So I'm 1,000 horsepower. it's ridiculous, everything about it. And when we started taking it apart, I said, we take movies. I need video of all of this stuff. So it's been a real hoot to, a real pleasure to take that part of, that to pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of the car, but, I will tell you, I like the motor.
Well, a lot of a lot of the Lucid people actually went to school at Tesla, basically, and
Yeah, they did.
it was, you know, there was a flush of people that went over to that company. So it's no surprise that they've actually been able to not only match but exceed some of the design improvements
Yeah.
that, you know, Tesla made.
Well, yeah, Tesla, when I was in the crowd there, for the investor day or whatever, and I mean, I don't understand well, okay, yeah, I guess that's the best way to do it. I don't understand the investment community. Corey and I walked through that place, and I'm telling you what, it was like kids in candy stores. We couldn't believe all the hidden gems or Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them, all over the place, hinting at this, showing us that. It was pearls to swine for the other guys. They had no idea what they were looking. The video shows clearly that they went away from windings to hairpin motors. I mean, that increases like 30%. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And they still threw them under the bus and dropped the it dropped the share price down. Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning to me. But that new electric motor, we haven't really got all the data that we'd like to have on that yet, but I think it'll be at least a contender for what Lucid's got. The rest of the guys, not so much.
You know, I'd love to hear more. I know you're an expert in lean design with your engineering background. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on all the things that Tesla did drop on about how they're trying to streamline their processes and lower costs and stuff like that on Investor Day.
Well, I'll tell you, the things they put out were jaw-dropping, as far as body build and whatnot and paint lines. Getting rid of the Elpo tanks and things. These are gigantic step changes. And I mean, it's equivalent to the situation that you had in going from stamped steel parts welded together for the front and rear of the car to the die castings. And I keep saying this over and over again. I've had a whole car die cast sitting on my floor for 15 years at least. And I couldn't convince anybody to do anything with it. And Elon Musk goes in and says, hey, I want a one piece back in because of some of the stuff we had to say. I can't remember the exact verbiage, but it's something like, yeah, Sandy Monroe's a good engineer, but he pistol whipped us when it came to the rear end of the car and blah, blah, blah. He gave us a lot of credit. And I said, this should be one piece. And the reason for that is because I have a one piece. I got one right over here. It's done.
Right.
But anyways, at the end of the day, that's the same kind of step change you're looking at with the body. Having it so you paint it up and then put it together once instead of 50 times. That's brilliant all by itself. Their line is, it isn't a line. Their line is AGVs, automatic guided vehicles. So consequently, they don't have hiccups. If you go to a normal assembly line and there's a problem with the skillets or whatever, conveying system, whatever conveying system they've got, and it stops, you've just stopped everything. With an AGV, if an AGV stops, well, you can just pull it out of the way and you keep on going. And let's face it, things happen on the assembly line. If you don't have the right part, or if you have an operator change and things like that, or you're trying to build in parallel, and in a lot of cases, you want to do that for high-end vehicles. You go down the assembly line, okay, that's serial, but if you have some exotic things that you want to do to that car, either you have to slow the whole assembly line down and put extra, what we call off standard people on that line, or it just peels off and it goes into a substation, and whatever the extra parts are get put on, and then you just merge it back into the line and away it goes again. HEVs are my absolute favorite for putting a product together. Oh, and by one of the other things, I wanted to see how quickly they were building cars. So standard assembly lines run at around 60 seconds for a car. Okay, every minute car comes off the assembly line. Theirs are running at 43 seconds. And I timed it not once or twice, but 3 or 4 times. 43 seconds is what I kept coming up with. Now, do you think any of these guys would bring their Rolex up and check out? No, I don't think so. I never saw one guy looking at his watch to find out how fast that how fast that assembly line was going. And I did it 2 ways. One, I had my watch, and the other one end, 2 end, 3 end, 4. So I wanted to see how close I came, because, you know, you can make a mistake when you just rattle off the numbers. It's much more accurate if I can use my my watch. And I actually Corey got me this wonderful thing here from Shinola for like a Christmas present. But when I went to Austin, I was wearing my dad's watch. Actually, the watch my mom gave my dad when they got married. It still works great, and both of them correlated 43 seconds. And like I said, I did it 3 or 4 times. That's incredible. Show me a plant manager who wouldn't, you know, sell his children for a few extra seconds, and you're dropping 17. That's amazing fast.
Sure.
That's how they're going to hit the numbers that they want to hit as far as production is concerned.
So Sandy, you went to Italy. You went to IDRA, and I saw the video. You were impressed, it seemed. Is there any company like that stateside that could compete with IDRA, so we don't have to go over to Italy to buy these machines?
No, the only 2 companies that make die casting equipment that big are Hydra, and it starts with a B, and I'm just drawing a total blank. Anyhow, and they're in Switzerland. There's only 2, and now there's a Chinese company. I wouldn't recommend at all, but Hydra and the name of it. Dang, and this is live too. I can't send it to you.
No, it's
but
okay.
anyway,
We'll research it later.
it starts with a B, and you can if you type in 6,000 ton or 8,000 ton die casting presses, it'll come up, and there's only 2 of them on the planet. We don't have anything in the US. I came from that industry, and there's nothing like that here. Nothing.
So you know, legend has it that apparently Elon was looking at one of his kids' toy cars, and he looked at the die-cast frame on the car, and that's what inspired him. Why can't this be done on a larger scale? Have you heard that story as well? I've
heard a ton of stories, but the only one that I kind of believe is the one where he came into the room after it was me by myself on that one, criticized the rear end of the Model Y. And I said, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Look at this, look at that. This is wrong. Different materials and whatnot. This should all be one piece. He went back in and he said, how do we get to one piece? And that was it. But I've heard that tale, and I've heard another one about an iron, the base of an iron. Somebody dropped an iron, and he got the idea there. I don't know. Personally, I'm going to take the one that has me involved.
That's true.
So there you go.
That's a good one. So we got a couple of questions here. Edward Crump asks, what assembly plant are these hairpin motors being built at? And I'm assuming he's talking about the...
Yeah. that would be Austin, Texas.
Austin,
Okay.
Texas. Okay. All right.
And then Roger had another question, if you can go up to that. Do you think, Sandy, that the cost of the replacement pack is eventually going to be less than the labor cost to repair a replacement pack?
Probably not in my lifetime, but that's nobody asked that question before. Give that guy a cigar or something. Okay, so Stump the Chump has just happened. I am not, you know what? That's got too many variables.
No.
I would say right now, based on what I know about regulations and stuff like that for mining and refining, I'd say no. But maybe some of these old guys will die and we'll be able to move ahead a little quicker. But right now, I'd say that no, I don't see that happening. I think that repairability would probably be cheaper than trying to buy a battery pack. It's just even if it does have the pink foam on it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, you know, you've been in the auto business for many, many decades, and what I find fascinating is the rate of improvement and how technology is changing. I mean, this whole battery technology, from the Tesla Roadster to where we are now, continues to expand, and every month there's a new technology. I know you were excited about the sodium battery.
Oh yeah, I'm totally down with that sodium battery that came out in China.
And then we were excited about the graphene battery. In fact, you even gave us some credit in one of your videos. And then now currently we have the cattle battery, which is supposedly going to increase. And then you guys are excited about the Amprius battery. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, it basically outdoes everybody, including Tesla. And I'm going to visit them shortly. I'm not sure exactly when, but I think it's like, it used to be on Good Friday. I think it's a couple of days before Good Friday. And I'm going to have a chance to get a downtown look. And these guys are for real because they, you know, they've got the design done for the, they got the design done for the factory that it's going to be manufactured in. They've already picked the location. And on top of that, they're being funded by a group called Kensington. Kensington is pretty smart guys. I know two of them. I know Don Runkle and Justin Morrow. And those guys are, so both of them have had a huge, long history in the automotive world. Runkle, Don Runkle, and I know each other for a long time. And he used to be the president of Delphi, among other things. He also was the vice president of GM's tech center at one time. He's very, very astute. Nobody can fool Gary. Sorry, not Gary. I'm keep thinking of Gary Calger, just recently died. Another guy that I knew, a really superb kind of guy. But I'm pretty sure that they've got the right teams of people with Runk and Justin. So I will tell you, I'm going to get one of these batteries, and we're going to do our own testing and whatnot. See if we can validate everything they've had to say. And I think I'm going to be really happily surprised. So yeah, I'm very, very interested in that battery.
So Sandy, as you mentioned, you guys are embarking on the podcast journey at this point. We've been doing it since summer of last year. And get ready, because there's always a new expenditure you're going to need to make. They're going to want equipment. They're going to want more cameras. They're going to want more cables. They want, mixing boards, all of that. Tell us about that. What will your podcast be focused on, and how often will it be?
Based on my calendar, which has just taken a gigantic hit, it looks like we're going to be doing podcasts, quite a few. And it's going to be a rotational kind of thing. So sometimes it'll be me and Corey. Sometimes it'll be me and a guest. Sometimes it'll be one of our in-house experts, and a guest. I mean, they got a lot. The folks here are really overwhelming. The room I'm in, actually, we used to use it as a room to store beer and stuff. Yeah, no, yeah. And then it got turned into my office when I got booted out of the front office. It has no windows in it. It's got a big double door area. We were going to do additive manufacturing in here, but then COVID kicked our butt, and we lost out on that particular thing. So it's got double doors. You can wheel anything here. But they've all fixed it up. It looks actually quite nice. When I was in here, when this was my office, it didn't look nice at all, and the roof leaked. And I said, "Hey, what the hell's the deal here? I own this building, I own the company, and I walk in every once in a while, and it looks like somebody peed on my desk. What's going on?" So yeah, but they've popped. They've done quite a bit of stuff in here, and Corey and Eric and Grace and Aaron are all excited about going into podcasts. Personally, I just sit down and I answer questions.
Yeah.
That's all I do. I know nothing about anything else.
You know,
Yeah.
it sounds like the same trajectory. We're down in basically the basement of one of our commercial buildings that we had started to convert into a kitchen for our employees just before COVID. COVID hit, and we said, should we really be doing any expenditures? Because we have no idea where this is going to end up, you know, financially. So this basically sat empty until summer of last year, when the social media guy said, you know, we need a studio, we need someplace to park all this equipment. And that's where we are right now.
Well, cool. It looks, I'm sure everybody else can notice it. It looks like it's just on the Riviera or something here. It's
right. That was
really good.
Well, a green screen will do that for you. It will transplant you wherever you want to, you know, be. So I've got another question on a personal note, Sandy.
Sure.
How does it feel being an engineering celebrity?
An engineering celebrity. Oh. Every once in a while, I feel like weeping. This is one of them. I never, let me tell you a sad tale. So at about 13, I was lucky enough to be cursed with cystic acne. So your social life changes when you look like 40 pounds of hamburg stuck on shoulders of some, buddy. So I never really had much. There were no dates. I can guarantee you that. I never went to a prom. I really didn't get a date until probably I was in my maybe 20 or something like that. So at the end of the day, to go from a social outcast, basically, as a young man, to where I am now, and I really wasn't a fan. People would bring me to parties, and I just stand in a corner and drink. That was my, well, if you need somebody to sit in a corner and drink, then hire Sandy. He'll do that. This was not my first choice. Corey, when COVID struck and we had nothing to do, and basically our whole livelihood stopped dead. We couldn't invoice, we couldn't do anything. Nobody was, and the company's going bankrupt. So Corey said, "Okay, I'll film you, and you just talk and tell them what we're doing here, tearing apart the Model Y." I said, "You gotta be kidding me. Wait, this isn't for me. Why don't we get somebody else?" We can't, because we were only allowed 2 or 3 different people to come into the factory because, COVID. They had rules. The governor shut down the state. Anyway, so that was my first exposure to being in front of audiences and whatnot. I definitely wasn't trained for this, and I wasn't a natural. Things just happen. But to me right now, it seems surreal. Talking to talking to Elon Musk and all these other, I mean, these are hugely important people.
Jim Farley,
And
yeah.
yeah, and Jim, of course, Jim. I mean, yeah, that was a tremendous shock. I mean, and then he started saying things, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but half of what he had to say we cut out. I because I was turning red and gagging and everything else. He was very, very kind, hugely kind. And I've had a couple of situations like that on other podcasts where, I'm one of a group. Well, actually at Austin when we were out there, forgotten the guy's name. I want to say Pierre, but anyway, and he made a statement. It just, I mean, I've been flattened by this stuff. Uh, I get tongue tied and embarrassed. I don't know what to tell you, but it's nothing I expected. That's for damn sure.
Well, you are a celebrity. I was in my, I was getting some fillings fixed a couple of months ago, and I'm sitting in the dentist chair. My mouth is full of gauze, and one of the other dentists in the adjacent cubicle there walks over into mine, and he's got his cell phone up, and he says, "This is you, isn't it?" Of course, I couldn't quite answer,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it is an unusual type of fame that, unless you're used to it, is kind of hard to assimilate and digest. I understand.
Well, I'm telling you, the biggest thing is can I have a selfie? Holy mackerel. I don't know how much that's happened to you, but for me, I have no pictures from it. There are some pictures of me when I was playing soccer and I would kick in a ball or something. There's some of those around. But for the most part, I didn't want any pictures of me at high school. Certainly not at college. I just don't have them. And in my mother taking pictures and stuff like that, she would take the picture. I would find a way to get to it, rip it up, cut out the negatives, chop them up, throw everything away. I don't want my picture taken. And now, you're walking along in the airport and, hey, can I have a selfie? Oh, my son wants a selfie because, holy mackerel, it just totally mind bending.
Well, Sandy, your success is well deserved, and it is definitely unhinging at times. I feel for you, but keep doing what you're doing. We're all very excited about what you're doing out here, and we've got a bunch of questions. If you can entertain a few more of those. XQ says, Sandy, what do you think Tesla will do to replace the LFP Model 3? Will they use their own cells?
I see no reason for them not to go into the LFP market. I mean, really and truly, that is a whole lot easier than trying to make 4680s or 2170s. So either that or, the other thing is he could go to Our Next Energy. One, Mujib Ijaz is in the process of making an LFP factory right now. I think in a really short period of time, he'll be up and running. So it could be that Tesla will do like what they did with like Panasonic or whatever. They'll become a supplier and start making them that way. If I was Mujib, that's what I would be doing. I'd be asking, who would like to get gives you about the same amount of power, energy, but it's not going to give you that jolt. You're not going to be thrown back into the seat of your Tesla. So I think that might be the easiest and best and fastest way.
We get visitors, and you'll find this on your podcast as well, from all over the world. We've got Thomas Curtis coming in this morning from New Zealand. Welcome, Thomas.
Good morning,
Appreciate you
Thomas.
coming in. We usually ask them to tell us what platform you're coming in on, and in the case of the Roadster podcast that we do every Wednesday, we ask them for their VIN as well. It's a small community, and they generally, know each other. Okay. All right. I've got another question for you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Unrelated to all this technical stuff we're talking about. You guys were in Texas. You went to Clive's Bar afterwards.
Wowzers. Yes, we did. Yeah. And the question is,
The question is, I was envious. You had a glass of beer and it looked cloudy and it looked like a Hefeweizen. Is that what you were
was.
drinking?
yep, it was.
It was. There you go.
Hefeweizen,
That's
yeah.
my favorite beer. You know, I was born in Bavaria, and
No kidding.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so my mother was born. My mother was Swabian,
Oh,
and
fine, yeah.
yeah. So I spoke when I was a kid, Folkdeutsch,
Uh-huh.
and then when my mother found out that that really wasn't German, we didn't have very many Germans in the community until after World War II. Well, when they started talking to my mother in German, like I don't know if you've ever heard anybody like speak Folkdeutsch, but it's like a hillbilly or something like that. And
Oh, yeah.
so she said, "That's it, no more talking German." And the only person she would talk to after that would be her mom
Yeah.
or any of her relatives that came from Schwabia. But yeah, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
ate really well. That's the best part of Germany. You
Totally.
cannot beat Bavaria, Schwabia. The
Yeah.
southern part of Germany is just absolutely the best for food.
They take so much
No
more
question.
pride in their food and
Yeah.
of course the beers. My aunt actually lives in the Black Forest region and they have a
The
distinct
Schwarzwald.
accent there. Yeah, Schwarzwald. And then
Yeah.
my folks, of course, are from Bavaria and their accent, you know, anybody that lives up north, Hochdeutsche, they consider us hillbillies. But,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if you remember throughout history, Otto von Bismarck, you know, he wanted to constantly go to war with the French and whoever else was taking or destroying their castles, whereas King Ludwig was funding the arts. He was funding Wagner. And, you know, the Bavarians, they just want to live and let live. They want to have good beer. They want to, you know, have Oktoberfest, and they didn't want to go to war. So that's the culture that I come from, the Austrians, the Swiss, and the Bavarians.
Well, I don't know why they called him Mad Ludwig. He had the best looking castle on the planet.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's you know, you've always got two sectors that are in a country. Some are doves and some are hawks, and usually the hawks will congregate in one area, and the doves will go somewhere else. And so my experiences in southern Germany have been like BMW and Mercedes are down there. Then you've got you know, you got Volkswagen up north.
Yeah.
I got a picture of Adolf Hitler looking at the Volkswagen Beetle. You know, that's the car for everyone. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So let's just stay south, and we're, you know.
And we're good, yeah. You know, we want to invite you to come and see our EV shop. I think you would enjoy it. It is truly the auto shop of the future. We give tours daily. People love it. Even ex-Tesla people or Tesla people come to visit because for them it's nostalgic. It's like going back in time when everything was roadster. But what we have here is really what all of the auto shops are going to look like within the next 5 to 10 years or so. And you would get an early glimpse, and we'd love to have your opinions on how we can improve things. So whenever you find some time in your calendar, we'd love to have you come visit us.
Well, I think that what we need to do is, I think I'd like to carve that out so that, so it isn't kind of like, let's do lunch kind of a scenario. So let me give that assignment to Kim. Kim Schiller is my secretary, and she controls pretty much my life now. And I'll see what I'll give that to her, and then who should she reach out to? Or maybe you could just send me a name or a phone number or whatever. So because I'm sure that you don't coordinate your own schedule anymore either.
Right. We will.
This, by the way, this, all this stuff with the videoing and everything else, that's basically what put me completely over the top. I can't, I get 100 emails a day or more. And then on top of it, these kind of things, you have to have somebody steering you around continuously. Hey, Sandy, you're supposed to be over here. Say, Sandy, so that's what I have Kim for. She controls pretty much everything from about 6:30 in the morning until I don't know, 8 or 10 at night for me. It's amazing. But anyway, I think it'd be great to come down and have a look at your guys'
Would
shop.
love to
I
have
wish
it,
I
yeah.
could have seen the other one. I was really impressed with that. When I saw that pack of roadsters you had and everything, oh my God, I just couldn't believe my eyes.
You'll like it down there then. You'll like it when you come down. Yeah,
And-
we'll have our people get in touch with you guys.
Yeah, and I'll show
That'd
you
be great.
my little mini machine shop there, because I'm not a tool and die maker by trade, but
Oh, yeah.
shop in high school. I went to a vocational high school, and I love that
Okay.
part of it. So today I make a lot of the tools there and the fixtures, and enjoy that thoroughly. But I have to do that on the weekends, because unlike you, I don't have a personal assistant yet. And I actually work Elon hours to try to do everything and catch up on everything,
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point anyway.
Well, Elon is the reason that I wound up getting a secretary, because I saw, I think her name is Jen, that basically controlled his life, made
Mhm.
sure he had something to eat. And I don't know if you ever heard the story, but Corey and we went straight from Eugene, Oregon, straight across the bias of the country. So almost at the Canadian border, all the way down to the US Mexican border. And just so we could get this thing. And we were dead. I mean, we didn't stop. We only stopped to eat, charge, and keep on going. One of us would sleep, the other one would drive.
Oof.
And when we got down to Brownsville, I mean, we just went there. We took a shower and went straight there. And we were early, and he had other things going on. So we got a chance to look at SpaceX, which was really kind of interesting. And then we just waited around, and so we skipped lunch, and we got inside to see Elon. We went through the interviews, and then we stuck around for a design review on one of the rocket engines. And I used to work on those, so I actually made a suggestion. I think they might have taken it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're at 10 o'clock, and Jen shows up. You haven't had enough to eat, Elon. And she, I don't know, could look like a frozen dinner or something like that. Dropped that in front of him. And so that, he kept going.
Mhm.
And Corey leaned over and he said, "That's what you need." Everybody's afraid I'm going to drop dead or something. But but anyway, but that's kind of like how we got going.
That was
That's
the
why I got a
inspiration.
secretary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys get me a secretary? What do you think?
I think it's coming in your future.
Personal assistant.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There you
Mark's
go.
our CFO, by the way. He also does a lot of the software work on the
Oh, yeah.
Roadsters and the Model S's. So we have some very talented managers here and people in our company.
I wear a couple of hats, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that keeps you alive and young. Dr. Demings told me, retire and die.
Yeah.
I think I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we are
We
at,
have more questions. We need to make sure we're respecting an hour.
Okay. We do have some more questions, Sandy, but we're at an hour plus at this point. Do you want to entertain some more questions, or should we wrap at this point?
I'm not sure what the thing is. Can you check my calendar? Wait a minute. That was for the Indian guy, right? For Colonel. I think that got canceled. $2:30. What time's it now? 2:00. Yeah, we can do some questions. It's I've got about 20 minutes, so
Okay,
whatever.
sure, let's get a couple more in. Zane Courtney is one of the co-hosts that's been on our show as well. He's chimed in with his own question. First, he says, "Thank you, Sandy, for joining." And then he asks, "Does the impending movement of cars becoming computers on wheels make you more or less optimistic about repairability and ownership?"
Good question.
Well, as you might know, computers fail too.
Yeah.
So I think that the repair business is going to be around forever, and I am a fan of being able to repair my own products. I fix almost everything at my house. If I'm not building it or whatnot, I I'm probably going to repair it. Computers has never been one of my strong suits, but we have a guy here and all he does is run around 6 days a week, fixing all the computers. So I don't see the time when we're going to be having anything but repairability on mechanical and electronic devices. And mostly, if you don't have software to it, it's mechanical. If we look at things in that light, software can help out with a lot of stuff, but in a lot of cases, you wind up in a situation where something mechanically has failed, like the chip you were talking about on that board. That's a mechanical component. Pulling it off, putting a new one on to make something work again, there's always going to be a need for that. Always. Unless we go to micro machine. Well, in the military world, micro machines are kind of a handy thing. They don't fail. They work really, really well, but you had to build them a molecule at a time, and it's slow and costly.
Sure.
Doping, everything.
You know, we have been asked this question a number of times. What is the future of service for electric vehicles? And the ICE business, of course, is mature. They're master mechanics, and there are 780,000 of them in the United States. The problem occurs that the production goals that these EV manufacturers have now are, in my opinion, not going to allow the scaling of service delivery to the extent that is required to keep these cars functioning. Tesla's already running into that at the service center level. At the end of the quarter, they get jammed, and you know, people are being told it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks until we can get to your door or your window regulator or whatever.
Yeah.
It seems to us that the real answer is going to be making the cars smarter, making them self-diagnosing, moving AI into the car. And I know that's a threatening term to most people, but with the cars becoming smarter, I think it will alleviate the problems associated with not having enough staff to work on the cars. You can't, it's been our experience, you can't take a master mechanic and convert them into an EV repair guy, especially at the independent level. At the OEM level, perhaps, because they go to the parts room and they do module swapping. But with independent service, like what we do, post-warranty, you have to chip chase and troubleshoot right down a component level. So you have to have software skills, electronic skills, and some wrenching skills. And those 3 skills don't typically reside in one individual. So our prediction is that it's going to be AI in the cars, they're going to be self-diagnosing. And as you know, every Tesla is already a node on the Tesla network. They know exactly where every car is. It's in communication with the mothership. And it wouldn't be too daunting to include a self-diagnosis routine in those cars that tell the mothership what's going on, that charge port's starting to stick or fail. And then the mothership notifies the service center. All of this now is, you know, completely opaque to the owner. There's communication, and once the part arrives, then the customer gets notified. Your car is going to drive itself down to the service center. Your loaner's sitting in your driveway, and your car is going to get fixed.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good scenario, but I also think that there's going to be a much bigger need for folks like yourself, because quite frankly, to keep a car dealership busy and whatnot, you have to hire a lot of people, and you have to have an infrastructure that lends itself to that. The EV world hasn't really jumped into that a whole lot. And I believe that what they're going to do is they're going to talk to people like yourself or others, and they're going to say, hey, you guys know what you're doing. We want you, we're going to send work in your direction. You have to pay us a royalty for that privilege, and you'll pay it, because you'll be making tons of money. We don't see many electric vehicles out there right now. And I will tell you, an electric vehicle is like about, I don't know, 10, 15x more reliable and less likely to fail than an ICE vehicle. No question about it. So it is what it is. Even, the studies that we've done on brake pads and tire wear and things like that, things that you don't even expect, it all gets better when you go electric and you drive with one pedal.
Mhm.
So I think that there's going to be a need. It won't be as big as need. Oil changes don't happen anymore. I don't need air filters. I don't have to worry about spark plugs and injectors failing, on and on and on. All it is electricity goes in, spins this rotating device, and boom, where you go from here to there.
Mhm.
I think though that there's still going to be problems. There's still going to be cells that need to be uncovered and still need to have somebody that knows what they're doing that can fix those little things that are gone wrong. But I've been asked this question in the past, and I said, my grandfather was a stationary engineer. He knew everything he needed to know about for steam engines. He didn't know anything about a diesel engine. And it's the same thing as what we've got going on right now. So my grandfather, when he moved from basically a steam sailing ship before World War I to a turbine diesel engine, basically, all of a sudden, his frame of reference, all his knowledge was gone. It was useless.
Mhm.
And it was tough to try and recuperate. And even then, he was still either like a teenager or early 20s. And all of a sudden, there was nothing for him. And that's kind of like what's going to happen with ICE. It's not going to be an easy transition for anybody like that. And if you're a specialist in like cranks or cams or something, there's nothing for you with the electric world, the EV world. So I think you guys are perfectly positioned to enjoy a wonderful life because you are on the other side of the paradigm. You're on the EV paradigm. The guys in the ICE paradigm, that's going to be a shrinking square that eventually will strangle the people that are left.
Interesting, yeah.
We have two of our customers, good longtime customers, Dan Rubach and Mike Maloney. They wanted to give you a shout out, Sandy. They say they're both big fans of you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
They each, by the way, they're collectors too, and roadster collectors, and each of them have 3 of them. And
Oh, it's awfully greedy, isn't it? Supposed
yeah.
to share these around.
They're
Yeah.
actually coming out here middle of April, and they're also
yeah.
big YouTubers, so we'll be doing some joint videos. So Ian Caldwell asks, ask Sandy about the Ford spare part hopper story. It's a good one.
Spare parts hopper story. Wowzers. I need more information on that one.
Okay, that happens to us too sometimes. We'll catch Ian on the next one then. He also asks, if you fitted the Amprius battery to a Tesla Model S P100, what would the new extended range be? Would it push it over 1,000 kilometers range?
Which is about 625 miles.
620. I think it'd be longer than that. I'm thinking maybe you'd be within spitting distance of 700 miles.
Okay.
Dang, wow.
Yeah. And of course, like you had pointed out, if we do that, why not just cut the battery in half, shave the weight, improve the performance?
Exactly right. So you have to make a couple of decisions, gravimetric and volumetric kinds of decisions. And for me, weight is the big killer. If you look at some of the bigger trucks that are out there, I'm not going to go to the Hummer because that's kind of like a little ridiculous. But if you look at the Rivian and you look at the Lightning and you see the size of the pack and the cost of the pack and the weight of the pack, that's a lot of money. If I could cut the weight by 50%, and that's kind of like what I'm looking at with the the new battery packs that I'm staring at, these new innovative battery packs. If I could do that, I have a choice. I can stay with the 300 miles that they'll give you, 350 miles, or I could double it up. I could have 700 miles. And if I can go 700 miles, who's going to have range anxiety then? And by the way, these things charge up faster too. The newer ones, these new batteries that I'm going to go and have a look at, because they're using silica wafers, and the density is like 10x over carbon, or graphite. Things are going to change pretty dramatically. And then who's going to be, I mean, and they're probably going to be cheaper to manufacture, because right now, one of the most expensive things that you can buy is graphite, and it only comes from two places that I know of. There's a graphite mine, literally, I don't know, some kind of big forest fire or something about 1 million years ago. You can get that out of Quebec, or you can go to China, where kids cough their brains out, or cough their lungs out every day, making graphite, graphite. It's just absolutely disgusting. So I'm kind of like into, hey, let's just get some sand and melt it down and call it a day. That's the way I like it. And then they're using these nanotubes, lithium nanotubes, and I'm thinking that what they're doing is they're firing them into the graphite. I could be wrong, but that's what I think they're doing. And if I can make batteries like that, they're going to be cheaper. So I get more mileage, I get lighter weight. So everything that really and truly counts when it comes to weight, I can get better at. And weight is the number one thing that gets in the way of extent in the way of range.
Sure.
So-
Do you think that they're going to have charging capabilities over 1 megawatt per battery, as far as charging speeds?
Oh, charging speeds, yeah, right. I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen, because they can soak it up faster. It doesn't react the same way as and there's no cobalt in it at all, from what I can gather. So I'm going to be very interested in seeing how they're doing what they're doing, and like I say, I'm going to be getting a tour of that place, so I will be putting that out quickly as I can.
Yeah, we'll be watching. If you want to see Sandy's videos, they are on Monroe Live on YouTube. He has a large YouTube presence there. All of the things that we've talked about and much, much more available on his channel. If you want to see our YouTube channel, we're at Gruber Motors on YouTube. And Sandy, when you come out, there's a restaurant just down the road here called Edelweiss. And he's a Bavarian that owns it. And he has 18 Bavarian beers on tap, a lot of Hefeweizens.
Wow.
And what we'll do is we'll hoist a few liters of beer when we go there, and it'll be like Oktoberfest.
Wow. Do we get schnitzel and spargel?
Totally. His menu
And
is...
white asparagus. My favorite, favorite dish. That was my dish when it was my birthday. And my mother used to cook whatever you wanted on your birthday. That was my birthday.
Yeah. You know, it's seasonal in Germany. It's usually springtime that you get the white asparagus that comes out. And the region that your folks are from, by what's called Lake Constance, Bodensee, there's a lot of fruit growing regions there, and we usually time it so we go in spring, and you get the cherries, and you get, you know, all of the wonderful fruits there. But so when you come out, we'll definitely go there. We'll hoist a few, and we really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, social media is telling me.
Invite him back on the show.
Oh yeah, and then invite you back on the show, of course. Yeah, when your schedule permits. It's been a pleasure. This is probably one of the most fun podcasts that we've done.
Oh,
I think.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you again so much for
I had a
coming
good
on,
time.
Sandy.
I really did.
And you have an
Thank you
awesome
so
team
much.
back there, by the way, too. Give them kudos as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay. All right.
Take
Well,
care.
thank you.
Thank you.
So long, guys.
And for everybody on the Gruber Morning Show, thank you so much for joining us today. I know there were a lot of questions that we had not gotten to. We will try to get to those, and we'll reach out to Sandy and see if we can have him come back at a future time to wrap that up as well. So good morning again. Thank you for joining us.